Hello, everyone. My name is Des, and this is another Reflections on Faith. This is going to be a little haphazard. I had the thought, and I haven't recorded one of these in a while, so here it goes. I was thinking about the churches that are not teaching biblical truth and are leading people astray. And then I thought about particularly, black churches, as a black man, and all the the horrible things that have happened and are continuing to happen, in these black churches, particularly, the prosperity preachers and, pulling up in Bentleys and flying from the roof. But also, there's white churches that do it as well. But my point is that, I was thinking about this horrible situation and how there's probably so many that would come to Christ, but they've been hurt by these type of churches, people preaching the Lord's name, not for righteousness' sake, but for gain, and love of this world and money. And I was thinking it's our fault, it's our fault as Christians, and those before us, for not standing up, for not, following our convictions and thinking that somehow salvation was a group sport. If your church was quote unquote, righteous, you were going to heaven. And there's so many stories of, and again, I don't want to pigeonhole it to black churches. I know, stories of Spanish churches, white churches, but these churches that are not following God, they're following their own desires. And there's so many stories of how people, grew up in the church and were hurt by the church, just things that they did, especially to the youth. And I'm not talking about just, sexual things, although that, is a thing as well. But I'm just talking about, emotionally, like scarring these young people and even older people in the church in such a way, and they relate that to God, because they never had a true relationship with him. They were just kind of following along in what they thought was right, and I think all Christians should come to church like that. But the church's responsibility is to shepherd that Christian and teach them to develop that deeper relationship with Christ so that they don't look to money, so that they don't look to man, so they don't look to the things of this world, but look to our Father who art in heaven and the things beyond, and Savior and salvation through his Son, Jesus Christ. And it's the church's fault, but more than that, it's our fault, and I pray that we as Christians, I won't even say in this country, but we as Christians all over the world, would stand in the gap and be accountable and be a good and faithful servant. My brethren and sisterin, thank you.